Attacking football.
Attacking football.
Attacking football.
Attacking football.
Attacking football.
Hello and welcome back to the Attacking Football podcast. I've been on holiday for a couple of weeks, so you've probably enjoyed the podcast a little bit more than usual, but I'm back and I've brought a special guest with me. But before we get into that, joining me this week, Scott. Welcome, mate. How you doing?
Doing good, yeah. I took your job for a week and the bosses said I'd done such a good job that they wanted me to stay on, but they couldn't afford my wages, so yeah, now you're back.
Well, I appreciate you letting me have my job back, man. Thank you. Also joining me, returning to the podcast for the first time in a few weeks, Alex. How you doing, mate? Welcome back.
Long time no see. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Yeah, good, man. I've had a nice holiday in the sun, and I've come back. Obviously, I live in Wales, so it's the wettest place in the universe. Also joining us, as ever, Alfie, our producer. Alfie, how you doing, mate? Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing good. I feel like I've missed a couple of weeks as well, so it's good to be back. Looking forward to it.
Good, man. Now, look, let's get into the main event. This man is one of the best followers on Twitter. If you don't follow him already, it's ThePeakSanti. Santi, welcome, mate. How you doing? How you feeling after the weekend?
I'm very well. Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure being on your show.
Thank you, man. How let's get straight into the game. It's is it 2 points dropped or is it a point gained?
I mean, going into the game, I would have said it would be a points gained, but the way the game ended, obviously that was 2 points dropped because that was the last kick of the game, and we're so close to making history in that game. And for it to end the way it ended, it was so heartbreaking, and you could see, the feeling among the whole Arsenal fan base, how devastated everyone was. So
yeah, it was a tough one to take for Arsenal fans. Now, there was a lot of controversy in the game. We're going to go through it from start to finish. We're going to have a quick recap of what happened. I think let's start with turning point number one in the game, which was the Rodri injury. Did you feel when Rodri went off that you were really in with a chance of winning the game? Because you were 1-0 down at the time, right?
Yes. For me, I think Rodri is their best player. You take him out of the team and they struggle a bit. You see the space he leaves behind in the team, and obviously that would be an added advantage for any team playing against Man City with Rodri out of the team. So when he got injured and left the pitch, I felt like, oh yeah, we stand a better chance now at getting something out of the game. And that was evident. The moment he left the pitch, we got an equalizer and took the lead.
What an equalizer that was as well, by the way. But do you feel, I know I certainly feel that losing Haaland is not a bigger deal as losing Rodri if you're a Man City fan. I would rather take Haaland off the pitch than Rodri.
Yeah, I think the Haaland is equally important, especially now that they don't have a backup for him, right? But when it comes to their system, how they play, Rodri is a much more important part of that system, than Haaland. You can't go out there and find another Rodri to come into that system.
Yeah.
Without Haaland, City will always find a way to score their goals. The season before they signed Haaland, as a team, they scored more goals in the league than Haaland's first season, with them. And I feel like they can always find an easier solution with Haaland out of their team rather than having Rodri out of the team, because they have Kovacic, who is not a 6, they have Gundogan, who is not a 6, and the control Rodri brings to the team, his defensive attributes and everything. I mean, for me, I think it's the most complete 6 in the world right now, and it will be so difficult to replace him. Yeah,
I think we've seen before that City, they know how to play without a striker, but I don't know if they know how to play without Rodri. You've seen before, like their stats, like the games they have lost, it's because Rodri hasn't been in the team. And I think with Kovacic, Gundogan, and even Rico Lewis, I'm not sure they are suitable replacements to go into that team and replace Rodri.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Santi, you said on Twitter not only a few hours ago, I don't think Rodri's injury will have any effect on the title race in the slightest. Why do you think that? I think he's probably a bigger miss than a lot of players for City.
Yeah, I said that because people from my own fan base, they are starting to get carried away, and
that doesn't sound like Arsenal fans, Santi. Come on.
Yeah. So everybody are starting to get carried away. Like, his absence from the team automatically means Arsenal are the champions of the league, and it doesn't work that way. If it was another manager in charge of Man City, I'll probably be celebrating. But we're talking about Pep, who I believe is the best, who I believe at least the best manager of my own generation that I've ever seen. So this guy would always find a solution. I mean, they've missed Rodri this season, and they still found ways, to win games compared to last season when they missed him for, I think some part of first half of last season when they missed him, they struggled a lot. And this season, they missed him in the beginning of the season, and they still won their games. Without Rodri against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, they got their 3 points and played their football. So I just feel like it might affect them in the beginning, but as time goes on, Pep will always find a solution. And we as a club challenging them, whether Rodri is in the team or whether Rodri is out of the team, we still have to do our jobs. So,
I mean, you're missing a fair few players yourself, and no one more important than Odegaard, right?
We're missing Odegaard, we're missing Merino, because this is probably an unpopular opinion, among the Arsenal fan base. But I feel like with everybody available, fit, our midfield three will probably be Declan Rice at the base, Merino, on the left side, and Odegaard on the right side, and Partey out of the team. Yeah, because Partey still gives you that control, but off the ball, it's a very big liability. Off the ball.
Well, we saw that on Sunday. We saw that on Sunday.
Yeah, the physicality is no more there. I lost his legs, maybe due to injury, maybe age or anything. But, some part of the fan base don't want to hear that. And that's why I called it an unpopular opinion.
Okay. I mean, how big? So City are missing Rodri. Arsenal are missing Odegaard. You might get him back before the international break. Do you think that's going to have an impact on your season?
I think right now we're on survival mode. Yeah, I mean, we're in survival mode. We can't play our football because, like I said, with Rodri is a very important part of our City plays, and on our side as well, Odegaard is a very important part of how we play. Like 70% of our chances. 70% of our chances comes from Odegaard, and with him out of the team, we're struggling to create chances. And if you can't create chances, then your team is on survival mode. And that's why I'm not bothered by the way we're playing right now, because this guy is out of the team. And whether we like it or not, we have to get results.
Okay. Well, look, the next big talking point from the game at the weekend was obviously the sending off. What were your thoughts on that? Was it justified, that second yellow card for Trossard?
I think my problem is the inconsistency. Right.
Yeah.
If that's going to be a second yellow for Trossard, then it should be a second yellow for Doku. It should be a second yellow for Bernardo Silva. And let's go out of that game. The Liverpool game just 2 weeks ago. Szoboszlai did the same thing Trossard did with the same referee on the pitch, and it didn't give him a second yellow. It was already on the yellow. Last season, against Arsenal at the Emirates, Kovacic made that tackle while being on yellow card already, and it wasn't sent off. And Howard Webb himself said it should have been sent off, but the referee didn't want to have a negative impact on the game. So what changed this last game? My own problem is the inconsistency when it comes to these things. Only 2 players in the Premier League this season has been sent off for kicking the ball away, right? And those 2 players play for Arsenal Football Club. And lastly, the other player, which was Declan Rice, and when Declan Rice did it, I was mad because because
it's silly, isn't it? It's silly.
Yeah. And I feel like, I'm convicted that Arsenal Football Club gets officiated differently. That's my belief. And I've been saying this since last season. It's not limited to Arsenal Football Club alone. There are a lot of inconsistencies when it comes to officiating in the Premier League. And I said something that seems like doesn't make any sense. When teams are preparing for games, you devise a method to beat your opposition. So I believe you have to devise a method now to defeat the officials. Don't put yourself in a situation. I mean, it's crazy, I know, but Liverpool sports last season, they said they made human error. When VAR was made, to prevent human error, and with this technology in place, they are still making this human error. So you have to devise a means to beat the officials as well. Don't put yourself in a situation, for them to make their center of attention.
I mean, that's an age-old saying in football, is don't give the referee a decision to make. But let's talk about that Szoboszlai one quickly, because we've got a Liverpool fan on the podcast. Scott, talk about that incident, because I know the incident that he's talking about when Szoboszlai kicked the ball away and didn't get booked.
This was in the Forest game, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the Forest game.
See, I agree. I think the situations are similar, but I think there is context there in the fact that Liverpool were losing that game 1-0, and it was the 90th minute. I don't think he wasn't trying to delay the restart, because why would a player who was losing a game try to delay the restart? So I think you kind of have to. I think the situations are similar, but the context is widely different.
But surely the rules, if they're black and white, you shouldn't give leniency because of the situation. If they're black and white, they're on paper, then they should be either way, rather than.
That's where the human element of officiating comes in, doesn't it? The human element of officiating comes in there, because you have to give every decision based on its merit, but you also then have to contextualize the situation. So it's going to be slightly different depending on the circumstances. Yeah. Bruno Fernandes got a yellow card for kicking the ball away last weekend before. And there was nothing at stake there. I think we were already winning quite comfortably. I think it was against Southampton. Sorry, Alex. But he did get a booking for that. And if he was on a yellow card already, would he necessarily have gotten a booking? Is the question, because then it becomes, is this worth sending a player off? But Santi, just to talk about VAR, I think VAR, you have a rule that they can't intervene on a yellow card scenario. So if it's a yellow card, they can't go and say, well, look, that should be a yellow card. They can only do it on a red. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think VAR is set up for that reason. And I think that's the right way to do it, because otherwise we're going to be checking every single yellow card in the Premier League. And I think last season there was something like 2,500 yellow cards. That's 20 seconds per VAR check. It's just not worth doing. Do you know what I mean? We'd still be playing last season now.
Yeah. I think one of the big issues is that it's a problem that didn't exist. I think Gary Neville said it at the weekend. It's like, nobody asked for this rule to be over-policed the way it is. Yeah. Like, this wasn't an issue last season. Like, players kicking the ball away wasn't really that much of an issue. So, like, why are referees they've come in, they've decided we're going to hamper down on this particular issue, and they're pretty much just over-policing it now. And I don't think it's an issue that really needed to be addressed.
I think they're just trying to clamp down on all the time wasting and trying to stop. Like, I think there's a few stats from the weekend that, like, how often the ball's in play, and I think they're just trying to keep the ball in play more often than sanctioning players that aren't. And I think it's just because we're over-focusing on players kicking the ball away. But I think time wasting now is getting booked more often. But because it's not a big talking point and people aren't getting second yellows for it, it's not been seen as much.
There was a stat about how long goalkeepers are keeping the ball. Before,
I think David Raya was top, wasn't he?
And David Raya was at the top of that list, Santi. So maybe we're a little bit fortunate that David Raya is not getting more bookings. But I genuinely believe that this is one of those instances that we're talking about now, and in 3 months' time we won't be talking about again, because the referees are going to be overly harsh with yellow cards at the very beginning of the season, and then as soon as the players kind of get their head around it, it'll just stop.
Yeah, they did it last season where they brought the new rule in saying if players ask for a yellow card or they gesture for VAR to come in, that player was getting an instant yellow. And I think the only situation across season where I've seen that actually happen, because I've seen players ask for yellows in multiple games, but the only time I actually seen a player get a yellow was in the very first game of the season when McAllister got a yellow against Chelsea. And I don't remember another instance where a player got a yellow for asking for a player to be carded.
Yeah, I agree. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Okay, and then we got into the second half, Santi, and you talked quite eloquently about survival mode earlier on. The second half of that game, I saw the possession stats, and it was bad, right? It was bad. And Man City are a very heavy possession based team anyway, so you're always going to be on the back foot with 10 men, but what I want to talk to you about is being on the back foot with probably 8 men, because I think you had a go about this on Twitter earlier on. Havertz and Timber not making a pass in 90 minutes. So were you effectively playing with 8 men rather than 10, something?
Funny enough, even though if that stat was true, I think I was very impressed with the way he played. In that game. That game wasn't about us. We couldn't gain control of the game. It's a no-brainer. We had to defend our lead. A man down. Since the first half of the game, we had to play over 50 minutes of football with a man down. We just couldn't do it. We have to, defend our goal, and it was all over the place. Just 2 weeks ago against Spurs, I think he covered like over 10 point something kilometers in that game as well. So he's been doing a lot of runnings. Like I said earlier, our start to the season has been a bit of we've been pragmatic with our approach. And if you're not creating as much chances as possible for your strikers, then they don't have much to do. But if they're not doing that, they are helping the team when it comes to defending, then I don't have much of a problem, especially that City game. Every single person ran their socks off. So I'm really not bothered, because I was saying after the game that because some people were starting to point fingers, Jesus should have done this, Ben White should have closed Grealish down. Look, if there's one game that I don't want to point fingers at anybody, it's this particular game.
Yeah, because I think that's fair.
In my years of watching Arsenal Football Club, that was the best defensive performance I've ever seen from the club. And that's why, everybody came out saying, they packed the balls, they did this, or they did that. And look, if your team goes to the Etihad and add, 45 minutes of football to play with a man down, don't park the bus, park the bicycle, no problem. No problem. You park the bicycle. Because we've been going to Etihad for years. A man down. Go and look at those results.
Yeah.
Liverpool, it's happened to Liverpool, happened to Spurs, it's a no-brainer. You don't need a coaching license to know that with a man down against the best ball playing team in the world, you have the lead. All you have to do is to defend that lead. Because beginning of the second half, after the record, I already made up my mind. This game, the best result we can get from this game is a draw.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting us to hold out for that long, but yeah, it is what it is.
I think if that goal doesn't happen, we're probably talking about one of the best defensive plays in the Premier League, and I don't think a 15-second situation at the end of a game should take away from that. I think it was absolutely brilliant from Arsenal.
I agree. I think if you, like you said, Santi, if you are doing anything other than parking multiple coaches in front of your goal when you're 1-0, when you're a goal up at the Etihad down to 10 men for the second half, you've lost your mind as a coach. There is no other option for you. It's the only thing that you could have done. And do you know what? I would have preferred for you to have won that game, because I think you probably deserved to win that game on merit, not on performance, because Man City were the better side, but in terms of the way that you defended, I think you deserved to get to full time 2-1 up. I genuinely do. And the defensive stats back that up. You had double the amount of tackles won. You had more interceptions. You blocked 13 shots. Clearances, Santi, 37 clearances to Man City's 9. David Raya made 9 saves. That is absolutely insane. I think there's only 2 goalkeepers that have made more saves in a game. One was David De Gea, and the other one I can't remember off the top of my head. But Interestingly, the David De Gea one was against Arsenal back in the
Yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah,
Oh, it was
wow, yeah. But mate, defensively, that is one of the most impressive performances I've seen from a team in quite a long time, especially against a side like City. But ultimately, you went on to draw the game, which is, like you said, before the game, you would have taken that. In the title race, away from home against the champions, you take that, right?
Yeah, 100%. Especially after match week 5, right? Because you can still fix a lot of things. If we're talking about maybe match week 36, 35, then that's a must-win game. But just match day 5, you can still fix a lot of things about your season.
Yeah.
I think if you just jumping back to what we were talking about there, I think if you look at Mourinho's Chelsea side, what did they do best? They sat back and they can defend a lead like anyone. I think to be a great side, you have to, or one of the Premier League greats, obviously City, and I don't think United in their great eras did it as much, but other teams like Liverpool as well, they did it for some points, not as much. But to be a great side, you have to be able to defend your box well. And every single league winners have had low goals conceded, low this, low that. I think the way Arsenal are starting to play, they're starting to like turn into real. And they've shown they can switch between two. Either they can go from being a possession based side to a more transitional side or a low block side. I think it's a real testament to what Arteta's done with the side since he's come in. How long ago now? Is it 5 years? 4 years? 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think 4.5 years thereabouts.
Real testament to what he's done with them and just turn them into what will eventually, no doubt, they'll eventually be a Premier League winner in the next 3 seasons. Because the way they're playing, the way the players they're bringing in, the developing, it's top.
Santi, there was a stat on Twitter the other day about your centre backs, Gabriel and Saliba, comparing them with the best centre back pairings of Premier League history in the last 10 years, and they were right up there. How highly do you rate those two?
I think those are the best defensive pairing I've seen at the club in a very long time. Because right now, I'm so confident that if we're going into a game, if we're not winning that game, then the chances that we're losing the game is very low. Or like back in the days where we had the likes of Mustafi, Socrates, Vermaelen, and all those guys. But I don't think, this Arsenal team in general, out of the defenders talk, this Arsenal team in general, for them to get their flowers, they have to win trophies, right? For them to be in those debates, they have to back it up with trophies. And without trophies, nobody's going to listen to that conversation. Obviously, they're arguably the best defensive pairing in the world right now. But still, they need trophy in that debate. So I didn't get myself involved in that debate because, I mean, the truth is they need the trophies, and we need that trophies now, because failures to do so, I'm scared. Like clubs like Real Madrid will come knocking for the likes of Saliba, and to get to a point, these players won't have a choice than to move on. We need to win trophies in our career. I think he said it in an interview recently that he thinks he's the best centre back in the world, but he needs to start winning titles. So that's a message to the club that, no matter what, we need to get these trophies in.
Yeah, I agree ultimately. And we've had this debate in the Attacking Football group chat recently about how you rate a player. And do you rate the player based on their performances? Do you rate the player based on the trophies that they've won in their career? Because trophies could arguably be a team impact on how many trophies you get, right? So Virgil van Dijk has won 1 Premier League title. Does he deserve to be in the conversation for the greats when you've got people like Johnny Evans who have won 4 Premier League titles, for example? How far does trophies balance the great player debate?
I think that example of Johnny Evans and Van Dijk is, even if that Van Dijk had no trophy, we know that he's a far better player than Johnny Evans, right? We are having an objective conversation. But in the case of Jamie Vardy and Harry Kane, as a player, Harry Kane is a better player than Jamie Vardy, but Jamie Vardy is also up there, as one of the best strikers in Premier League history. And with Leicester, he managed to win the Premier League, he managed to win the FA Cup. I think they won the Community Shield as well. So in that sense, he has done more for Leicester than Harry Kane has ever done for Tottenham as a team. I mean, he had some good numbers, scored a lot of goals for them, but they got into few finals. He couldn't do anything, and Vardy was always there to turn up for Leicester. So, if you're looking at that, then people would tend to show Vardy more respect than they will show to Harry Kane.
Yeah, put your medals on the table is the old expression, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say that Arsenal don't win a trophy this season. They're still in 4 competitions, right? Are you concerned that some of those players might start going, I need trophies. I want to be the best. I want to play at the best club in the world. Arsenal could be that club, but we're not winning trophies. I may have to go and look elsewhere.
I said earlier that the only reason why, I think yesterday on the space, the only reason why I think if there's one club in the world that Real Madrid cannot just walk into and pick their players, is Man City.
Yeah.
And the reason is because whatever trophy Real Madrid will give you, you have a high chance of winning the same trophy at Man City. Yeah, if you're comparing the same team, band for band, I think Man City is a better team than Real Madrid. So they can't do that. Real Madrid can walk into Arsenal tomorrow and pick our best player. They can decide. They talk to the guy tomorrow. He said it's already turning that. Yeah, I want to win trophies. Again, I said earlier that we need trophies, and we need to start winning those trophies now. And I don't even think FA Cups, Carabao Cups will cut it for us. We need at least the Premier League for a start. So that's why I've been praying to God so hard.
Let me ask you. You said the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup's not going to cut it. Arsenal famously are without a European trophy in their history. How badly do you want to put that right?
When you're having a debate as an Arsenal fan, the moment they ask you to put your Champions League on the table, that's torturing. That's so embarrassing. The day Arsenal Football Club mistakenly win the Champions League, then it's done, over. I don't think you ask any Arsenal fan, the importance of Champions League or European trophy for that matter, and they will undermine it. As a football club of that stature.
Yeah, no,
so
I
embarrassing
agree
that we don't have one in over 130 years. And I think we're one of the clubs that's played the most matches in the Champions League. I saw the start earlier this season without a single trophy to show for it. It's embarrassing, and but for me, I don't think that's achievable right now. It's a process. If you win the league, get comfortable winning the league, and from there you can, aim high and start challenging for the Champions League.
I mean, Liverpool won it a couple of times without ever getting close to winning the league back in the day. There's always a chance in a cup competition, and Arsenal are good enough side to win the Champions League.
Yeah, I feel like winning the Champions League right now is even more difficult with the new format of the competition.
Yeah. That's a fair point. Actually, it does seem a bit more difficult, but I think this season we'll get a real impression of what the new format does. Let's talk about your chances in the Champions League, since that's the topic that we're on. You've got a half decent group of teams to play. I think you should get through the league stage quite comfortably. Scott and I did a video on the podcast about everybody's chances and where we thought that they would get to, and we actually thought Arsenal would do okay. Your first game tonight, how are you feeling?
Against Bolton?
Oh no, sorry, yeah, Bolton tonight, isn't it? Yeah.
They played Atalanta last week.
Yeah, Atalanta
we played
last week.
Atlanta
Sorry,
last week. Yeah. Are you asking about the Atalanta game?
I'm asking about your thoughts on your chances for the Champions League this season. How far do you think you'll get?
I think we should, if we are a serious team, I think we should get to the semi-final at least. Worst case scenario, I think we should get to, and we were this close to getting to the semi-final last season. The lack of experience showed at the end of the day, but this season I feel like we are more than capable to go a step further, to get into the semi-final, especially now that Mikel knows, to win some competitions, especially the cup competitions, you have to learn to be pragmatic in some games. And I mean, that's how he won his first FA Cup in charge of the team when he came, back then. And in the Champions League, you can't play in the Champions League every time the way you play in the league. teams will punish you. So I feel like we should be able to go a step further and reach the semi-final this season at worst.
Yeah, I think even that game against City showed the experience, like just the even just Raya holding onto the ball for longer than you'd want the keeper to. That just shows they've learned from last season, and it just shows that they're much more experienced than the season before.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Let's have a quick conversation about Mikel Arteta, because he is widely considered to be one of the best tactical coaches in the league. He studied under Pep. He's done what he needs to do so far with the team without actually taking that final step. Where do you see him in the list of great Arsenal managers, and what does he need to do to take that next step for those trophies that you so badly need?
Again, the trophies are important. Not a lot of people would deny he's a great coach. I mean, some people would not admit he's a great coach right now because he hasn't won a lot of trophies. They'll point to the likes of Xabi Alonso, his first full season as a manager went unbeaten. They'll point to the likes of Xavi, who has won, I think, was it 2 league titles? If you're not counting the one he won in the Middle East. So for him to be respected, to get his full flowers, he still needs the trophies. But for me personally, I think he's one of the best managers that I've ever seen since he came to this club. The trajectory has been upward, right? If you look at the trajectory of Arsenal Football Club since Arteta came in, and it's been evolving since he came in. When he first came in, there was a time people were saying he doesn't have a plan B. He can only play one direction of football. He sticks to, just one pattern of play. And now that he can play the way he wants, now that he can adjust his team, based on who is available and who is not available, I feel like he has come full cycle as a manager. Can do, but before he can still get his full flowers, he still needs the trophies. And there's one man stopping that from happening, and that's his master. So yeah.
I feel you're playing as a Liverpool fan. I know how it is coming up against Pep Guardiola.
It's a pain. It's a pain.
It's pain.
Nah. It's crazy how perfect you have to be this man. And I say this to Liverpool fans that I think we disrespected them for years. They're butlers, they're this, they're that. Now, as an Arsenal fan competing with Pep for 2 seasons on the bounce, I understand how mentally challenging it is to go up against this guy.
It's exhausting, right?
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, some older Arsenal fans would probably say the same thing about Sir Alex and going up against him year after year and just go, I'm so bored now. This is hard.
Yeah, but back then, if you look at the average points required to win a Premier League back then, I don't think it's as difficult as right now.
Oh, it's never been more difficult to win the Premier League as it is right now. 100%. All of the squads are better. You don't have, you get bottom of the league tables, bottom of the league teams, fine. But even the bottom of the league teams, back in the day when it was Barnsley and it was Bolton, fine. It's a guaranteed 3 points. But now when you're coming up against, like even Southampton, sorry, Alex, even Southampton is a difficult game. Going to St. Mary's or...
So about to rip into us.
Alex, is the only reason I brought you on the podcast this week, man. It's to rip you to pieces. But the premise is still there. It is a much more difficult league to win now, and I think that's fair. That's a fair. But you can only beat what's in front of you, right? So back then, yeah, it was a bit easier, but you beat what was there. Yeah, it's okay. So you've got Bolton tonight. You've got your first League Cup game. Now, we've recorded this podcast at 6 o'clock specifically so that Santi can go and watch the game. What are your thoughts on the game tonight? What are you playing the youth?
Yeah, I mean, Raya is not available. The second goalkeeper is club tied, and I think the third one is injured. So we're left.
Yeah, the 16-year-old starting tonight.
Yeah, so we're left with a 16-year-old in goal, and there's Lewis Kelly, there's Aiden Evan. I expect Kiwior to start. I think it should be a mixture of, because Arteta, since he came to this club, he's faced criticism from people that he doesn't believe in the youth. He doesn't give them
Yeah.
chance. He doesn't promote them because a lot of them have left the club due to this reason. And if there's one game for him to give these guys a chance, I think it's tonight against 14 and, see what he can do.
Do you want me to read the lineup out to you?
Yeah, go on.
You got Porter in goal, Nichols, Kirio, Calafiori, Lewis Skelly, Declan Rice, Jorginho, Nwaneri, Saka, Sterling, Jesus. So it's still pretty strong.
Saka?
Rice and Saka both starting.
Oh,
strong.
days.
Yeah, I don't understand Saka starting
That's
because
going to backfire.
Saka plays a lot of games, and I think if there was a game to miss, it'd be this one.
Yeah,
exactly, because he's played a lot of games already, and he's still playing a lot of games this season. So I wasn't expecting him to even be on the bench tonight. He played every game in the Euros in the summer, so he hardly got it right. But
so
for you.
This is a good opportunity for Raheem Sterling to to make his mark on the team. What did you feel about the Sterling signing in the back end of the transfer window? Because that was a controversial signing. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, we tend to make those kind of signings every window. So I knew one was coming. We never escaped it. So I think we have nothing to lose because it was a straight loan, no option to buy, no obligation, and Chelsea are paying most of his wages. So it's just there as a cover up in case we need to rest the regular guys. So he's not starting ahead of Trossard. He's not starting ahead of Martinelli. He's not starting ahead of Saka. So again, we have nothing to lose. So I'm not overly impressed, but I can't complain.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So, yeah.
I think if Martinelli has a season like last season, you're going to need Raheem Sterling.
Yes, but majority of Arsenal fans believe there's this left-hand side dynamic issue, and that's what they're trying to blame Martinelli's poor run of form on. I believe that's a factor, and I believe Martinelli's decision making is a contributing factor as well.
Yeah.
Because last season he came on in a lot of games and had opportunities to make his mark on the game. It was released 1v1, a lot of times, and his decision making was just poor. A lot of time he beat his man, his cross is going nowhere. So
Martinelli's he's 23 years old now. At what point does he stop being referred to as a young, exciting talent and start being referred to as an established Premier League player who needs to produce?
Personally, I feel like this season is his last chance because, this left-hand side dynamic thing that people have been going on about. Now, Calafiori is in, and it provides him that overlapping option on the flank, allows him to drive in. And there's Merino as well, who is a very good passer that can release him, on that flank. So if these two people comes into the team, and then it remains that decision-making that I talked about earlier. If it doesn't fix up with his decision-making, then he's gradually losing his place in this. And there's one thing about Arteta. The moment he decides to move on from you, there's no coming back. Because if you look at Zinchenko in the Arsenal team right now, doesn't look like there's a place for him. There's Timber, there's Calafiori, there's a lot of people ahead of him in the team. So
Martinelli has 1 goal and 1 assist in his last 10 appearances.
I said this season is his last chance, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Let's talk about the rest of the squad. Who is going to be the difference maker this season? If you're going to kick on and you're going to win the league title, who is going to make that difference for you? Because you've signed a couple of players, some exciting players, Calafiori being one. You've got Raheem Sterling being another one, some first team squad players. Who is going to make the difference between second place last season and winning the league this season?
We're looking at those signings. I can't point at one person in isolation. I just have to look at the team, how the team has improved as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's always been one guy, and I'm scared it will be that one same guy again, which is Bukayo Saka, and that's why I need this guy to be protected at all costs, because Odegaard is out of the team now. We're still finding ways to, get results here and there. And if you look at our goals in the league this season, I think it's just about 2 of our goals had no touch of Saka in it. Every single goal that we scored in the league this season came from Bukayo Saka. And that's why I'm so mad that Martinelli and Trossard on the other flank because they hardly contribute anything to the team. We have to look up to Saka every now and then. So this season again, that burden lies on him again this season to deliver.
Yeah,
Santi, I've got. Or can I just jump in? Sorry, LA.
Yeah, of course, mate.
Do you think this window was the window? I feel like you're missing one piece of the puzzle, and Arteta. I know he probably prefers Havertz in that position, but I still think Arsenal missing that marquee number 9, that your Isak or your Gyökeres or someone big up top who will guarantee you 20, 25 goals in a season. Do you think you're still missing that number 9, or do you think you're kind of compensating with spreading the goals around that front 4, front 3?
In the summer I was crying out for Gyökeres. I'm not a big fan of Isak. It's entertaining to watch, but it's not that much of a goal scorer. But if you're looking at the numbers, I think the one guy you want to look at in the summer is Gyökeres. I wouldn't mind an Osimhen, but I think Gyökeres is a superior player right now.
I agree.
And the fact that we failed to get him in the summer still baffles me, to be honest. Still baffles me. So I think next summer is that window that we're probably getting in a marquee signing. I know Havertz was good in that position towards the end of last season, but I wouldn't want to gamble on him keeping that form up, going forward. But I think that's what Arteta has done, and let's see how that goes for him.
Gyökeres for Sporting Lisbon this season has 10 goals, 1 assist in 6 games.
That's your response to Alan there.
And Arsenal play Sporting in the Champions League, so you could say he's got a trial against them ready for the January transfer window.
100 million release clause as well, doesn't he? I think
I think it's 5 million or there about the release clause.
Yeah.
Stupid. Coventry have got a stupid sell-on that as well. They're going to make so much money.
They do. They do.
Like a 20-25% sell-on on that.
Okay. Let's put you in charge of Arsenal Football Club in January. Alex has made a good point. You're looking for a striker, aren't you? Let's be honest. Where apart from Gyökeres, where else are you looking? Because I don't think you're going to get him in January, but you might need one for a title push in from January onwards. Where are you looking?
That's why I don't like to put us in that situation, because you hardly get your first target in the middle of the season. Nobody wants to leave their best player for you in the middle of the season. And I feel like Gyökeres is attainable because of the release clause.
Yeah.
And he said in an interview of recent that he sort of hinted about, leaving Sporting, that he's willing to give him another year. And I feel like if a convincing offer, comes in January for him, he might leave. That's my first option. Osimhen got himself into a situation where it's so difficult. I don't think you can even get him in January. He's on a season-long loan at Galatasaray.
No, there's a break clause.
There is a break clause.
There's a break clause, so he can leave Galatasaray.
No. They removed the break clause.
Oh.
Yeah, according to his records, we have mutual friends. So I spoke to him and he said the break clause doesn't exist anymore. So he has a lot of friends on Twitter. So So
Santi exclusive here on the Attacking Football Podcast. I spoke to him myself.
Get that on Twitter.
That's the one doing. But I mean, if you are on the Nigerian Twitter space, everybody knows his friends. So it's no secret. Yeah. And they were all over the place during the entire saga, talking about leaking the details of the contract. Oh, this is what Chelsea offered. Oh, this is what this and that. So everybody knows.
Okay. Right. Listen, we put out a tweet earlier on the Attacking Football Twitter asking for some questions for you, Santi. Producer Alfie has gone and picked his favourite ones. So Alfie is going to ask you some questions from our fans.
Yep, the first one is from @Fatali Mohammed, and he said, "Do you believe that Calafiori cemented his place at left back after that goal in the performance?"
I think we have a lot of games this season, and everybody will have their chance to play. Timber in that position has been, impressive as well. And I think Calafiori sort of struggled against Savio. Savio kept him busy that game throughout. But he got that goal, and I still don't think it's a first choice right now. I think it's Timber in that position and Ben White on the other flank until one of them, decide to drop form.
Not bad of a backup though, is he?
Yeah, what a goal it was as well, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next one, this is from @Chris Slater, and he said, "Do you think Arsenal can rely on Havertz and Jesus to fire them to the league title, or do they need a more clinical striker?" Which we've kind of answered.
Yeah.
Jesus, oh my God.
Santi,
I
just
mean-
remind me, your profile picture on Twitter.
Yeah,
Who is that?
Yeah, that's Jesus, and when I talk about him, people they are shocked because they believe, oh, he's a fanboy of Jesus because they have that picture on his. And to be honest, I just use that picture because I feel like it's not common and it looks kind of unique, and that was
It's
the main reason I
iconic.
used the picture.
It's
Yeah,
iconic.
exactly. So yeah, that was the main reason I used the picture of the club decide to sell him tomorrow. I don't care. So
Will
yeah,
you
I
continue to
like the
use
guy.
it?
Honestly, I like the guy. I want him to succeed at the club, but it's not that striker. And I've suggested that if we get a striker in the summer, like get a Gyökeres, move Jesus to the wing, because I believe he can still offer you a lot, playing on the wing. But Havertz and Jesus right now, yeah, it's not looking good.
It's not looking good, bro. It's not looking good.
Looking good. Everybody needs to step up.
Okay, Alfie, next question.
next one, this is from @YasinIHave93. Hopefully I haven't butchered his last name there. He says, "Where do you rank Arsenal? Where do you rank Arsenal's squad in terms of quality regarding other Premier League teams?"
I
That's a
think
good
we're
question.
second behind only Man City.
Yeah.
Scott, would you agree with that? You're a Liverpool fan. I can see you itching.
Yeah, I'd say they're second and Liverpool close third.
Close third, of course. Okay, fine.
Next one, this is from another Liverpool fan. He said, @Hog on the ball, sorry. He said, "Does the Rodri injury put Arsenal in the driving seat for the title? Or do you think
Sorry?
So he said, "Does the Rodri injury put Arsenal in the driving seat for the title?" So that does the injury now make Arsenal favourites?
Yeah, I'll say it increased our chances, but it doesn't automatically make us favorites for the title. Again, we have to do our job. Rodri or no Rodri, we have to win our games. So
Yeah.
if you
There's
win
a
your
solution
games, and
somewhere.
yeah, it's
Is
a
he-
thing of
If-
how much. Sorry, 1 second. It's a thing of how much does it affect Man City as a team. If they fail to find a solution, then I'll say we're favorites for the title. But with Pep, you never know.
Maybe Pep needs to get injured.
He needs to pack his bag. I mean, he's won everything already. It needs to follow Klopp out of the league. Like your friend already left the league, and I don't think I can that friendship thing with you. Pack your bags, man, and leave the league. Leave us alone.
Okay.
Last one, this is from @UnitedShiv, and he said, "The way Arsenal performed away from home the past 3 games, so Tottenham, Atalanta, and City, do you think Arsenal deserve a lot more credit for what they've got, considering they're 3 tough places to go to?"
Yeah, I think a lot of people that doesn't support us now are not giving us as much credit as they should. Went to Spurs away. Was it 3 days after we had to play Atlanta away?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Beat Liverpool at Anfield last season. They beat Bayer Leverkusen in the Europa League final. So they are not a team you can just walk over, if that makes sense. And they gave us a game of our life. So I think we only got back to England 2 a.m. on Friday, had one training session. We had to go to Manchester again against Manchester City. And I think we've done quite well.
I'd agree with that. Okay. Look, I've got one final question for you, then I'll ask the boys. Manchester City, your biggest rivals at the moment, are currently defending themselves against 130 charges of financial impropriety. I know you as much as we spend a lot of time on social media reading through all of the different bits and pieces that are coming out about this. Where do you stand on those charges? Do you want to see them sanctioned? Do you think there's a case to answer?
I think there's one proverb that says, if you're not moving close to an allegation, the allegation will hardly come to you, if that makes any sense. So for them to have like not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 100 charges labeled against them, I don't think they are innocent of everything. Even if they are innocent of some of those charges, I don't think they are innocent of all 130 charges. So, would they be sanctioned? I don't believe so. Because I mean, that's life. Life is never fair, and bad people tends to do well in life, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't be. They will probably be sanctioned, but I think people are exaggerating. It's like they should expel them from the league. I mean, I would love that to happen, but I don't just say it's happening. I just feel like they will just deduct, some points here and there, and that would just be about it, and fine them heavily. I feel like that would just be about it with the charges.
Hey, you win a Premier League title if they get points deductions in every season.
I think the charges end in 2018.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we stand to gain nothing from it. So probably be Liverpool. Yeah.
I think Liverpool will get one and United will get one, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on, Alfie.
that's Liverpool's battle to fight.
It would be Mourinho's one, wouldn't it? I was trying to think who would it have been, but it'd be Mourinho's Prem title, wouldn't it? So another one for him.
And Ollie's.
And
Yeah.
No, because it ended in
If it
2018,
ended-
so it would have just
if it
been
ended
17,
2018,
18.
yeah.
Okay. Scott, question for Santi?
No, I've asked all my questions.
Alex?
How it's hard to judge, but how long do you think it'll be till Arsenal win the league? Do you think how long, like how many seasons? Do you think you'll win it this year, or do you think it'll still take a few more years to chip away at City and break them down slowly? Like how long do you think it'll take? Like how many years did it take Liverpool? 3, maybe 3, 4, closely contesting them. How long do you think it'll take?
We just have to win the league this season. I mean, there's no excuse. We have to beat them this season, and that's why that result at Etihad was so painful, because that would have been, a major factor in deciding what the league winner will be at the end of the day. But yeah, that has happened already in the past. We need to be perfect this season, because if you're competing against City, I mean, we've seen Liverpool. Was it 98 or 97 points?
Yeah, 97, yeah.
97, and City went ahead to get 98 points. They are devils. So we just have to be. I mean, I tell people that back in Virgil days, you can afford to fuck up, right?
Yeah.
And still get your season back on that way. Against this City team, you cannot afford to slip up, because Arsenal slipped up in December last season, and we went on that run whereby we only dropped points in 2 games, one against City and lost against Aston Villa. A lot of people like to point to that Aston Villa game that's the reason why we lost the league. I don't believe so. I believe it was the December run where we lost to Fulham, we lost to West Ham, we lost to I think Aston Villa as well in that December run. I think that was where we lost the league. And despite that fact, we tried to correct that mistake by going on that amazing run in the second half of the season, and it was not enough to fix that damage that was done. So this season, from beginning till the end, we just have to be perfect. And if that's what it takes to win the league, we already knew this from before coming into the season. And that's why I said, if Arteta decides he doesn't need a striker, no problem. You believe you can do it without a striker, so you have no excuse not to win the league.
We have to be perfect. That's that's what Santi says. We have to be perfect. I think that is the line to leave the podcast on, I think. Listen, Santi, thank you so much for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have you on. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
My thanks, as always, to Scott, to Alex, to Alfie. Boys, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on. Santi, good luck for the season. I think if my club doesn't win the league and if Scott's club doesn't win the league, we really want you to win the league.
Hopefully we don't let you guys down again.
Thank you, mate. Thank you, mate. Okay, cool. Listen, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate your time. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and go and follow ThePeakSanti on Twitter. See you next week, guys.